And we have a special presentation tonight. We have our first robotics competition that we entered last Saturday. So we're kind of excited about that. Kind of ties into the whole fishbowl. So Mr. Moore, I'd kind of turn it over to you.
Yeah, back in front of you guys again. I was like coming and talking to you guys. If you know anything about First Robotics, it was generated about almost 15 to 20 some years ago. Us in Austintown are the only local schools that actually compete in this size robot. Some of the other high schools like Girard, Warren Harding compete in the bigger ones that are more expensive. This is sort of a mid-grade, and then there are some other local schools that do the robotics league. So we're potentially venturing in that in the coming years, hopefully. So what this is they have to build a robot that is coded. They can use any parts they want. We bought a kit through a grant that we got through being a rookie team for this year through First. We got $750 towards the purchase of the kit and the robot, and then the school covered, I think it was about $500 for the initial year to cover the cost of going to one competition and the remaining of the robot parts. So roughly about $1,500 to $2,000 is the average budget to sort of run this program. And so what they had to do is they had to build a robot that had to fit into an 18 by 18 inch cube in the beginning, and then they had to program it for autonomous movement for 30 seconds. This year the game was called the Relic Recovery. They had what these called these glyphs. They had them stationed in the center of a 12 by 12 playing surface, and then you started your robot on what was called a balance stone. So it was a 3/4 inch platform that was raised about an inch off the ground, and you had to maneuver your robot off the platform successfully and either stack a glyph, that's what these were called, into a rack, or do something else autonomously for 30 seconds, and you scored points. And if you got your robot back up at on the balance stone, you scored more points. And then you had a 2-minute, what's called a teleop, where the students, through an Xbox or 360 controller, were able to control the robot to do whatever they wanted to do it. And you scored points by stacking blocks, putting a relic outside of the playing area, and actually getting back up on the balance stone. And then you play the competition, 4 teams go at a time. There's a blue side and a red side, so you're actually paired up with another team. And so you kind of talk like, hey, this is what our robot can do, and this is what your robot can do. And so there's teamwork among playing it. The first couple of matches, being rookie, were a little rough. Thank God we had good Alliance members. They helped us out. We had sort of a brain epiphany or brainstorm idea. I don't know, it came that we needed to make some changes to the robot at lunchtime, and we made some changes, and we were able to, the next match, it was a low-scoring match. Out of the 50 points, we scored like 46 of them by ourselves. So we were able to make some good changes. And the kids did a wonderful job being sort of the first experience for me and them. And hopefully we're going to continue this on in the future. I've actually started today to get in contact with outside community businesses to actually start sponsoring the program. And so hopefully I can come back and hopefully in January or a little bit later and say that we have a nice donations on behalf of some community. So I'm going to turn it over to, we actually had 6 students. 3 of them couldn't be here, 2 of them were at basketball practice, and I don't know where Josh. So one was Aaron English, Garrett Bueno, and Josh Demensky. 2 of them are 7th graders, and then Josh is in 9th grade, so we're kind of very young. Some of the other teams that we're actually competing against were juniors and seniors.
That's
and
crazy.
So this program runs from 7 through 12, and that's the reason why I picked it, is because it actually covers this entire building. So we can get everybody, our juniors and seniors didn't want to partake, I guess. So I'm going to turn it over to the 3 that are here so they can actually introduce themselves and get some practice. So they have to do, part of it is they keep a notebook and then they go in front of a panel of judges and get interviewed. So it teaches them a lot of real world skills that they're just not getting just in a typical classroom. So I'm going to turn it over to them. So which one of you is going to go first?
I know it has to be me.
Let's go.
We'll go with the freshman first.
So obviously my name is Garrett Catania, if you didn't already know. I was the programmer for this these two were kind of the builders. And my main job was to program both the autonomous and the actual controller mode. They were obviously a great help, even if they didn't help me program, because anytime I needed help testing something or fixing, they were always there. I actually think we did quite well for our first year. We placed pretty high out of the 24 teams that went, and I believe only one other team was considered a rookie team. Our autonomous didn't actually work as intended, so we had to stay on the balance board and gain points through that, because we didn't want to lose points from hitting someone.
So it's a little bit of a strategy. So we actually got points for starting there and not moving and ending there. So strategy, it's like, hey, we're going with the strategy. We saw other teams doing it, so we joined them. All right, sorry.
As for the controller program, I have to say that that actually went extremely well. That's how we scored most of our points. We would have one driver that controlled all the wheels, and we had one driver that controlled the arm as well as the claws. The claws are just controlled by 2 servos, and as for everything else, it's controlled by DC motors. So it did take a lot of coordination, but we had a coach there to help communicate between the 2 players, because it can become stressful. And that coach did actually help quite a bit in relaying the information that one was trying to say to the other. That's all I can think of right now, so I'll pass it over to Ryan.
I'm Ryan Higgins, and I was one of the builders, and I was happy to join the club, and I really did enjoy it. I liked the team members. They were really kind, and it made me learn an experience on how to build a robot and what to do in a contest and what not to do. And I had fun competing against other teams. The other teams were very nice, and like Moore said, thank goodness we had them at the beginning of the game. And
I'm Camelia Blackman. Same things Ryan said, I am a builder. I was one of the few people who came the first few days. So, yeah.
So she can say she's one of the founding team members.
Yeah, one of the founding team members. The members were very nice. We were always able to work around if people had games, things they had to do, otherwise studying. The building wasn't the hardest part. I believe the hardest part was the autonomous that didn't work correctly.
Can somebody help me, what is the autonomous again?
Okay, so the autonomous is in the very beginning of the competition. You had to program. We can do a short. We can test a short. We have no idea what's going to happen. What it is that so in the beginning of the competition, you have to how it's controlled is actually via 2 cell phones through direct Wi-Fi. And so every team has their own unique cell phone that was part of the kit. And so the autonomous is. You load it, they have a little desk, you go there, they tell you, okay, autonomous game starting in 3, 2, 1, you initialize, and you stand back and the robot has to do something. And then it counts down to 30 seconds, and then you have the ability, then they say, okay, going in tally op in 8 seconds, so they give you 8 seconds to get it out autonomous and put it back into driver mode, and then for the next 2 minutes, the kids control the robot. And so when they mentioned the idea of a coach, it was their teammate member, it wasn't me. I was there at the first competition to kind of help them, but we had 2 drivers and one of the other kids was actually a coach there. So I kind of just stayed back and sort of enjoyed sort of watching them compete. All right, so are you going to attempt an autonomous?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll give you an idea what autonomous is.
So this is a program that we had set up for the left side of the blue, and I think what it was supposed to do was take that block that we had preloaded and drop it into the box to hopefully score some points. And let's see if this works. No, it's fine. It just always measures. Okay, so it grabbed it and then...
See on the video,
Yeah. Rob. All right. So what it was, you kind of let go of the block. So that's the idea, is to get off the balance stone and then just sort of turn. And so
Can you show it again?
Yeah.
You missed your photo op.
Yeah, I missed the photo up. And the reason, one of the reasons why we sort of did run our autonomous mode is that a lot of teams in the first rookie and some other teams have been too, the robot had to maintain the initial 18 inches until the actual start. So our arm was raised above the 18 point, and so we'd have to go back real quick and change the code. So we just said it's not really worth the score points staying here like some other teams did. We just sort of stayed with that. So going forward, we are on a waiting list for one other competition that will happen in February at Kent State. All the local, Austintown was lucky enough to have a spot. We were able to get another competition at Cleveland State on January 5th. We opted not to go to that one because it was a little too quick, and then having the kids come over the Christmas break was just a little much. If we got everything worked out before we went to Austintown, we probably would have been going to that one. So we're hoping to get on the list for the one at Kent State.
How long of the day was this, Steve?
We actually, we had to check in Friday, so we actually went Friday night. They had some problems getting set up there, so we had to be there roughly 5:30. They were supposed to start inspecting the robot. You had to have stickers, which we didn't have, and some other stuff. They had to make sure it fit 18-inch box. So we were there from 5:30 till almost like 8:30, I think we left. And then we were back there, so we had a few more things we had to change. In the morning, we got there at 7, and I think we finished up, we didn't make it to the final round. It was at 3:30 we left. The final round did not finish till almost 5, so it's basically good.
Did the parents get to stay?
Yeah, the parents got to stay. They stayed, watched. Some parents actually provided some lunch for the kids. I tried to keep them, I had conversations with them in the bleachers when we were meeting. When we weren't playing, trying to keep them updated. We actually, out of 24 teams, we actually finished 11th ranked overall in terms of the points. We ended up, with our matches, had 6 qualifying points. So we ended up, so at the end, they picked the top 4 teams, and the top 4 teams can go then and pick another 2 other teams to work with them, be part of their alliance to go to the finals. So we were eligible to make it as one of the chosen alliance teams. But since our autonomous didn't quite work, I can see why we weren't chosen. But we ended up 11th, ranked 11th out of, and I did not check the scoring, but they have it actually how many points your robot actually scored. And like I said, out of that one match, out of the 50 points that were actually scored, we scored 46 of them by ourselves. So we helped. It was right after lunch, and we added some more wheels to our robot to actually help us get back on the balance stone. We were kind of struggling to get there, and it's right after we did it. We had that first match, and we kind of found our groove, and then from there on, and the rest of the afternoon, we did really well.
I think that's just fantastic. I mean, you kids all had fun? Good. I mean, it seemed like it. I know when I was talking to you guys before you even went that day and you were showing me that, it was great. So.
Yeah, it was a very kind of stressful day. But you know, looking around and watching out of the 24 teams, I mean, there was robots. Give you the idea of price range. Maybe the parts on this, we'll say this is like maybe a $500 robot from all the parts that we used out of what we had. Maybe a little bit more. The one that actually ended up winning the competition and actually setting a world record for the points. So this is a worldwide competition. Was a $5,000 robot. Just to build a robot, that doesn't include their budget for the year is about $8,000. They go to all these different competitions and stuff like that. So basically, for what we did, actually we had a couple other teams come over and like they were experienced teams and asked, well, you know, for as a rookie team, what do you say? And the one team, it was kind of funny. He's like, you know what? That's way better than the robot we had our first year. It's a very impressive robot. And then it was fun to watch these kids go out and interact with other kids. They had no clue who they were and make connections. We were able to get a couple contacts from other teams to say, hey, if you ever need help, hey, we're willing to help you. And that's part of the first idea, is to actually go out and help other teams too. But they were very helpful and sort of very encouraging for our kids too.
That's great. So did the fishbowl, you have special shirts to wear?
Yes, we did. We actually, the fishbowl did make some shirts that Camilla actually designed. She drew up a blue jay and some wrenches, and I was able to scan them in and actually put them on the shirt. So it was actually her design that we actually were able to wear.
I think I did see them, actually.
Yeah. So we did have special shirts that we did have for them, so we matched. I don't think the next competition we're going to go a little crazy like some of the other teams. They get a little more creative. I don't know. Some of the kids, had unique costumes, weird hats and stuff like that. So it's a good. It's kind of like a party atmosphere. Maybe I can get them to come out of the show and do something crazy. I don't know.
They know about doing it.
Yeah, something. It was a fun experiment. And like I said, I'm going out and actively seeking sponsors so we can actually continue this, so the school doesn't have to keep incurring the cost. And so hopefully we can get some sponsors.
Well, I do want to say on behalf of the board and all that, I appreciate you guys coming to the board and presenting that. It's great. I love it when we can show off some of the new things we're doing, academically especially. So, Mr. Moore, it seems like we're always inviting you, but thank you for coming.
It's all right. Like I said,
Thank you very much. Keep plugging away.
Oh, there they
Good
are.
luck.
All right, yep.
I'll have to send you a video. I have a really good video of you guys competing, putting
Okay.
blocks in. So,
Oh yeah, we have a couple pictures. Eventually make up on a website. Eventually, as we go on, we'll create a sort of a Twitter page. A lot of other teams have that and some
I
other
think we can
stuff.
put that, if you send it to me, we can put it on the website actually.
Yeah,
too.
because I mean, I have them in action
Yeah.
here. So.
Okay, good. You can put a link, we can put it on the website.
Cool.
All right.
Hey, thank you very much. Thanks for
Yeah.
parents that brought you guys